check in now with Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media. Check out all his stuff on NJ.com. Good morning, Kev.
Hey, good morning, Sully.
Is that one of your tunes? Superstitious?
Not really, sorry. No, no, it's not really one of mine. It's, it's okay and everything, for those who like it, but not really in my wheelhouse, so to speak.
What would be your pregame music if you were a high school basketball player?
It depends.
Did you play basketball in high school?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. No, but no, I don't know. It depends on where you're at. Most of these kids like rap music nowadays. Some go with like the AC/DC. I don't know. So it all depends on what the AD deems appropriate, I guess.
I might have to go with some Dropkick Murphys on the headphones.
Well, to each his own, I guess.
So what's going on, man? You enjoying this high school basketball season? Been pretty interesting so far. Definitely some exciting teams to watch, and Cape Atlantic League tournament is in full swing now with the first round games last night. I know I saw you down there at Pleasantville last night checking out Pleasantville and St. Joe, and we'll be getting ready for the state playoffs in about another week and a half or so. So give us the rundown on what's going on. What's at the top of your notebook?
Well, it kind of hit me, I guess, this week because I'm always looking ahead. You got to plan ahead and work out your schedule for what's coming up. And next week is it. Next week is the end of the regular season, and the games are fewer and far between next week as teams kind of have pretty much reached their max and getting ready for the state tournament now. So reality has set in that basketball season is now in the home stretch, and here's where we determine as we say, the contenders and the pretenders, and everything becomes one and done. So it's the time of the year that you look forward to. It takes a little time to get there, but now's the best time, and you look at the matchups and you kind of think who's going to beat who, and then the next day it's that didn't even come close. So. But it's it's the time of the year that if you're going to make a serious run, you better be peaking at this time.
Yeah, we're kind of through all those weekend showcase events, and now we're down to this sort of single elimination type atmosphere, which is really exciting in basketball. I mean, you're getting a little bit of taste of that in the Shore area with the Cape Atlantic League tournament. It's one and done, and there's only a couple of rounds, but that kind of gets these teams prepared for the state playoffs. When really everything's on the line, you lose, your season's over, and you go on to your spring sport. So a lot of pressure coming up in the next couple of weeks on a lot of these teams, and we'll see how some of the top teams can react to that.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the tournament starts on the 25th, there will be basketball every day, but I believe each Sunday until we come to the state finals. So. It's you win, you move on. You got a day to prepare for the next team, and then you better be set for what's coming at you. So it's a good time of year, and obviously it's the best time of year for high school basketball. So obviously, like I said, we look forward to it, and get an opportunity to get out there and really see what teams are made of at this point in time.
Kevin, what was your impression of Pleasantville last night? I know you don't often get down to the Shore to cover some of these teams, but you did get a chance last night. I know you've probably seen Wildwood Catholic at some point this year, so that's going to be a pretty good matchup in the Cal semis next Wednesday at Absegami. What was your impression of the Greyhounds? I mean, they're definitely an exciting team to watch. They do struggle with turnovers at times, but they kind of make up for it very quickly with really quick possessions. I always joke that if they ever put a shot clock in, Pleasantville won't even care because their possessions last about 7 seconds.
Yeah, they wouldn't need it. Contrary to public opinion, I think I've seen more Cal basketball this year than I have probably in the 30 years that I've covered South Jersey.
Really? Okay.
So, absolutely. And given my job and my responsibilities, and going into the season, I thought the Cal was going to be extremely tough. I thought there was going to be a lot of very, very solid teams and a lot of teams that could make some noise, and obviously I think that's proven itself. And, last night I kind of thought going into the game, coming off of what I had seen with Pleasantville and St. Joe on Tuesday night, I kind of thought that, Pleasantville was going to take that game. At the beginning, it kind of didn't look that way when they found themselves down. I think it was 20-9 early in the second quarter. But like Mike McGarry had said, that they kind of stepped on the gas there in the second quarter. McFadden comes off the bench. He touched the ball and literally shot the ball. And most people would say, when you're coming off the bench, your first touch shouldn't be a shot. But, for this kid, his whole thing was, I'm going to shoot it and I'm going to put it in. And he did that. He drained 3 threes, and it really changed the whole momentum of the game. Pleasantville's a team that I think at times beats itself. I think at times they may not share the basketball as much as they should. And certain guys aren't getting the touches down, during the course of the game that they probably should be getting. But they find a way to, last night they find a way to follow the hot hand. Jacob Valise comes in and just dominates on the boards, and Jalen Freeman and Samir Jones come in and they start lighting it up a little bit in the second quarter, going into the rest of the game. So, I think that they're an athletic team. I think that they can. Obviously, Wildwood Catholic has beaten them twice. I think if they can control what they can control and not turn the ball over and not make what you would kind of quote unquote say are stupid mistakes and kind of kick themselves, I think that they can hang around with Wildwood Catholic. Do they ultimately win the game? I don't know. I think you probably have to lead toward Wildwood Catholic to get the W, but I don't think there's an excuse why Pleasantville cannot stay in the game with them, because they have the athleticism, they have the bodies, and they play an aggressive style. As long as they don't make those dumb mistakes and throw the ball around and just kind of maybe value each possession just a little bit more, I think you're going to have yourself a very, very good basketball game.
One thing, I don't know if I'm characterizing this the right way, but it kind of stuck out in my mind that they almost looked a little bit bored in the first quarter because St. Joe was playing that half court, kind of extend every possession to about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, and Pleasantville was like, all right, this is kind of boring. Let's get up and down the court a little bit. And once they were able to do that in the second quarter, you saw how good they can be. They scored 28 points in the second quarter. So it took them a little bit while to get going last night, but once they did, you let a team like that out of the bag and let them run up and down the floor, you're in trouble.
Exactly. And St. Joe could not have, you look back on it, they couldn't afford to let that happen. And they did. They wanted to take some time off the clock and kind of, when I really thought that Pleasantville had the better I think they had the better athletes. They obviously have, I think, more experience overall. And for St. Joe to probably stay in that game last night, they couldn't make it a track meet. They had to let it, try to slow the tempo down and try to dictate what was happening. And they tried. And for the first quarter and change, they were okay. But then Pleasantville got after it. They started to push it a little bit. They started. St. Joe started to turn the ball over, and Pleasantville got out and ran. And then they clamped down on defense a little bit. And next thing you know, that 11-point lead was gone. So, yeah, I mean, the shot clock. Pleasantville doesn't need a shot clock, but definitely, if you're going to try to beat Pleasantville, you really cannot let them get up and down the floor like they did. So, we'll see what happens come Wildwood Catholic game. We'll see what happens come in the state tournament with Pleasantville. But once Pleasantville got itself on a roll and got itself some momentum in that second quarter, they had turned. The deficit had been evaporated in 3.5 minutes. So, 28 points in a quarter is pretty high for a high school boys basketball game, I think. So, except for a few teams here and there, but they're capable of scoring points, and they obviously did the job.
Well, that's kind of been the MO of Pleasantville all year, is they don't really get concerned if they're down 8, 9, 12 points, because they know they're going to go on a run at some point and make up that amount of points in a short amount of time. But against a team like Wildwood Catholic, you really can't afford to get down by 10 in the first half, because that happened when they played at Pleasantville. They were down, I think, 16-4 in the first quarter, and really could never get within less than 6 of the rest of the way.
No, against a team like Wildwood Catholic, you definitely can't find yourself down double digits, and you don't want to get yourself. You don't want Wildwood Catholic to dictate tempo and everything the entire game. So yeah, they're going to have to keep the score close, and it's going to have to be within an arm's length. And it gets to 10 points. 10 points might be too much. So we'll see what they do. But like I said, I think that they can compete with them, and then there's no reason why that game shouldn't be a pretty close game. At least until the fourth quarter.
Talking with Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media. Check out all his stuff on NJ.com. And Kevin, tell us a bit more about a couple teams that I was looking through the standings last night and just trying to get a gauge of where some teams were at. And I'm really not surprised at how well Camden Catholic's doing. I knew they had a very talented lineup, and after a little bit of a struggle early in the season, they've kind of turned it on. But one team that really stuck out at me was West Deptford. I mean, I didn't realize they were having that good of a season.
Yeah, West Deptford. If you want to look at the big picture, they're one of the surprise, I guess you could say, the surprise teams in South Jersey in Group 2 this year. They took Haddonfield they nearly pulled off the upset over Haddonfield earlier in the week, and I believe West Deptford's either 18-3 or 19-3, somewhere in that neighborhood, and obviously been a very good year for them. So, can they get through Haddonfield in Group 2? That Haddonfield and Camden, for that matter, I think that's a very tall task. But obviously, basketball is not exactly been the sport in the winter at West Deptford. Kind of wrestling, has pretty much dominated, I think, for the most part for many years. So, they're turning things around a little bit. They're enjoying some success, and they're winning some games. So, kudos to them for what they've been able to do to this point in the season. And there's lots of teams out there that have kind of turned the tide, and they're winning some games, and it's generating a little bit more excitement in the school. And that's are there a lot of these teams that are going to go and win a state championship? Probably not. But you know what? They enjoyed their season. It was productive. They had their moments. They had their highlights. And that's what high school basketball is all about. Obviously only one team is going to win a state title, in each group. So enjoy what you have while it lasts. And, I think West Deptford is a team that's definitely like that.
Kevin, real quick before we let you go, I wanted to touch on the other Cal semifinal, St. Augustine Prep versus Ocean City. And Ocean City kind of shocked Millville, went on the road as a 6th seed and beat them. So they're going to be a handful for St. Augustine. But St. Augustine, by the same token, is playing really good basketball at this point, and they've kind of found their chemistry a little bit. They were searching for that in early January, trying to figure out what kind of lineup they were going to go with, who was going to get the ball more, and that kind of thing. It looks like they've figured a lot of things out in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, they had that back-to-back games with Moorestown and Wildwood Catholic, and those are two very, very good basketball teams. But I know that they were disappointed in their performances in those 2 games, and then they put some things together and went on a nice little run, and they had a loss a couple 2 weeks ago or so, and in a game that they were right there with Haddonfield. So I think St. Augustine has kind of, if you haven't settled into your roles and figured things out by now, I don't know you're ever going to, but they have settled in. Andrew Delaney, has settled in nicely there. He scored his 1,000th point last night for them. He's the transfer in from Blair, and Charles Solomon's been pretty solid all season. I think if you look at it, one kid who really surprised me with St. Augustine, and maybe I was just naive to the point, but Cole Vanderslice is had some very big games, and I think a lot of people think of Cole Vanderslice as the pitcher, and he's going to go to Villanova to play baseball, but he's a pretty good basketball player, so he's kind of found his niche in these last couple of weeks as well. So put that together, get that chemistry going, find out what your roles are going to be, and stick to it. And I think they've done that. So, they're the top seed in non-public A in South Jersey. And, I think A, like I have said before, I think A is going to be an extremely difficult group to win. I think there's 5 or 6 teams capable of winning that championship in that group, and St. Augustine obviously being one of them. But I look to a potential matchup with Camden Catholic there, and like you said, Camden Catholic is a basketball team that's playing very, very well right now, and they're a team that's reached their peak. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think when that semifinal comes around on Wednesday night with St. Augustine and Ocean City, I would lean towards St. Augustine. Not that Ocean City doesn't have a chance, because obviously they've proven that they can go on the road and knock off a pretty decent team. So I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I don't know if it's going to be as much of an up and down game as we think was going to be in the other semifinal, but it'll be entertaining nevertheless.
Good stuff as always, Kevin. We appreciate the time. We'll dive more into the playoff brackets next week as we get ready for the sectional tournaments, and we'll be relying on you to kind of give us all the good inside information on those brackets, and we'll see how they shake out here in the next couple of weeks. We appreciate it, man.
All right, so I'm going to print them out, and we're going to be set to break it down next week.
You'll have the whiteboard all ready to go?
I'll have the whiteboard, I'll have the blackboard, and whatever else we need.
Awesome, man. Good stuff. Appreciate it, bud.
All right, take it easy.